Well, hello. Welcome to this dreary Saturday morning where I'm at. Meeting of the South Badlands Pen Club in beautiful southwestern North Dakota. Snow is actually melting outside. It's still a lot there. Everything is turning to mud where there isn't snow, but signs of spring are there with less snow. So I don't know if anybody's on yet, but I'm going to give you a quick peek out my window. Yes, the Christmas lights are still up. So the Christmas lights are still up because I had these cardboard flaps that were supposed to, you wrap them around them so they don't get tangled. And I'm cleaning the living room. I look at these cardboard flaps over December. I'm like, what are these for? And I threw them away. But this week, got a delivery at school, not one for me, but delivery at school. And I said, hey, can I have the flaps off your box? And she says, sure. So, something else I got to show you. I'm going to run off screen, but I'll be back. I kind of have this losing my voice thing going on. So if you hear me clearing my throat, I edit those out when I record, but when I'm live, I can't really do that. So you may have to deal with some phlegm. But anyway, talked about these in pens in use. So now I can look at my pen parts. If I look through this magnifier part, I can see the nib. So that's pretty awesome. So let's see where we're at here. So Matt says they had some snow in the UK, but not enough. I think we had enough for me. I don't know here in North Dakota. Manny Lamont, yeah, that's that white stuff out there. Karen SJ, well, welcome. Glad to have somebody from Germany today. I'm going to schedule the next one, my April one, more for American audiences. I'm not sure what day exactly it will be, but I'll do one for American audiences in April. I'm going to try and figure out how to do one for my viewers in Asia, but Asia's so big, it's going to be rough to figure that one out. And of course, Australia. Well, welcome, Pamela. Glad to have you here for a live chat. I figured out how to do this right at the end of the last live stream I did, so this is kind of fun. Alan Perez, welcome. Yeah, it's dreary here, but as you saw, there's bald spots in my lawn now. Thank you, Karen SJ. And let's see, we've got Jay Lee from San Francisco. You're up early, so I suppose it's only 7 a.m. there. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but welcome from Greece. I don't speak Greek at all. And David Anderson, good to have you here from the UK. So, yeah, today I was going to talk mostly about some writing, what I write and things like that. And then I thought, as always, it's a live stream, so who knows where it'll go. I figured about an hour, maybe a little more. I do have some things I have to do this morning, but I'll have an hour to an hour and a half free. Sajad Hussein, welcome. Raining in Maryland too, so it's not raining here. The street, other than where the melting snow is running, the street's actually dry. Will Hodge, welcome. ODE, good to have you from Portugal. I always picture Portugal as being sunny and bright, but it's March, so who knows? JS, welcome. And yes, as I was telling everybody at the beginning, the Christmas lights are still up because I wrapped them around cardboard flaps from boxes. And when I was doing some house cleaning over the Christmas break, I said, there's a bunch of junk in this living room. What are these cardboard flaps for? And without thinking, I threw them away. And then in January, I went to put the lights away, and that's what those flaps were for. So I haven't ordered anything online, so I, what do I do? So, but one of my colleagues got an order, so I said, hey, can I have the flaps from your box? And she says, okay. And you could just hear her thinking, weirdo. But now I can put them away today or tomorrow. So a lot of familiar faces here. Good to have you all. And I see we're up to 16 viewers. Let's see if I can figure out how to put a comment away now. Oh, there it went. All right. Excuse me. So, as I said, I'm dealing with a little bit of losing my voice. But it's all good. So I'm just happy to be here. I put Badlands Pen Club. I actually had a comment I haven't responded to yet on my YouTube channel asking about if there's any pen clubs in North Dakota. So this is about as close as you're going to get, I'm afraid. Just that lack of population and distance is a problem. So, unless you can find a bunch of pen enthusiasts in Fargo or Bismarck that want to get together, I think it would be a rare meetup type of thing for a pen club here in North Dakota. Of course, ODE says it's sunny and bright and around 24 degrees Celsius right now. So here I'm pretty sure it's above 0 Celsius because I see the water running, but not very high above 0 Celsius. Plus, if you can't hear, my furnace is running right now, so it's cold enough to need that going. So I'm going to just show you some of the writing stuff I have, and then we'll just take a look, like I said, at what I write. So one of the things, this is going to be a mess. One of the great things that's come into my life that's not pen related is this remarkable tablet. It uses e-ink technology, and I love that thing. I use it daily. It's my planner. My book banning driving video that's supposed to be coming out is on here. Let's see if I can pop it up on screen real quick. Yeah, so here's where I'm at in my planning for the video. Okay, Matt W. says it's 13 degrees Celsius in Cambridge and rather dull. Put that on screen there. And then, hello, Mr. Best Beatles fan. Really flip through those comments real quickly. I have a notebook that was given to me by one of North Dakota's other people, pen people. This is a Caliber notebook. Let's see. Oh, everything's backwards. There's the information. So made in Vietnam. So apparently these come in different qualities. I really like these Kikuyo Campus notebooks. What's in this one? Oh, okay. This is a Kikuyo Campus binder, a little bit overstuffed with some loose paper. And a really dust bunny infested zip tie. Oh my. So that was dusty. And I've been using Kikuyo paper. It's business paper. That comes out for letter writing when my Tumaway River paper runs out and I need to order more, which I hear they've changed their paper. So I'm kind of scared, eventually I'll get one of those batches and won't like it. But I like this Kikuyo business paper too. Oh, let's see. We've got Andrew Brendan showing up from Bloomington, Indiana. I've been to through Indiana a few times, mostly just on the interstate. I know. Let's see. Where have I stayed there? I think I've only stayed there once. I was on a trip with my family when I was 14. We stayed at a campground in Elkhart, Indiana. And since we were there, my father drove us up to Michigan just so we could say we'd been to Michigan. So as far as writing, what do I like to write? So we'll start with this. This, especially at work, has replaced a lot of notebooks. I'd have a notebook for technology committee. I'd have a notebook for staff meetings. I'd have a notebook for um, school leadership meetings, notebook for school board meetings, all these different notebooks. And now I'm going to turn you down here. Whoops, that was a lovely shot. Sorry. What the heck? Why are you sideways? Sorry to everybody getting seasick. That's the dubious joys of live video. So this thing is asking for a passcode. I forgot about that, so we'll do that off screen. I like you guys, but I don't like you that much. So here I have, well, we'll go to the top menu. I have a lot of different folders here: articles, channel, personal, planning, school, and writing. Hello, archivist. Glad to have you here. You haven't missed too much, mostly me talking about Christmas lights and why they're still up and that they're now going away. So we're talking about writing, but this is nice for organizing it. Here are a bunch of articles that could be organized better. I just clicked on one. I don't know which one I clicked on, but you can see it's an article. Actually, this looks like the bibliography of an article, but I can write on articles, or I can highlight things that are important. But the other thing I like, so I hope that wasn't important. So we'll go to the channel. My latest driving video, I can just write away. And this is what my writing looks like when I'm not performing for the camera. And the neat thing is, it pretty much has infinite paper. So this is all going to be on one page. So when I export this as text, try to remember how to do that. Not something I do very often. So convert notes to text. We'll give it a chance to do that. And so while that's going in the background, so this has replaced a lot of work notebooks, and obviously for the channel, I used to put stuff like that. Oh, it's over here. I used to put stuff like that in these cognitive surplus notebooks. They're pretty. Every one of them is pretty. But then you fill it and the notebook sits on the shelf and you're thinking, well, now what? I have recently thrown some old notebooks away because I'm just, well, when am I going to use that again? My big complaint with these cognitive surplus notebooks is the quality isn't always reliable. Sometimes the notebook is always good, but the paper is sometimes better in some than others. This one says it's fountain pen friendly. So while this is converting to English, it's a long document. Let's just test that. I'm noticing it's kind of yellowed along the top here. Not sure what's up with that. So let's do an everyday, which is also across the room. Holy cow. Luckily, it's a small house, so nothing's very far away. Our Greek viewer says that actually looks nice. I was skeptical at first. They are attractive. I guess I'm unclear if you're talking about the Remarkable or the Notebook. But, so we got Cognitive Surplus Notebook. And I think that turned out well. Let's use just a much wetter pen. This is a Noodler's Conrad with a Stipula T-Flex nib in it. Oh, come on, dude. I'm doing every trick I know to get autofocus to look at it, and it's refusing. So that's what it's going to be. Okay. Pamela Boxall says, I should think that the feel of the scribe is better than an iPad. Does it feel more like writing with a biro than a fountain pen? So it does feel more ballpoint-like for the US viewers. It's a slender stylus, but remember, this is me who uses vintage fountain pens like this Kaweco Dia. So the sections on, let's see, do we turn on a light? The sections on these things, even though it's slightly out of focus, you can tell the sections on these things are actually very similar. Because I'm used to vintage fountain pens, the stylus doesn't bother me. Plus, I use a lot of number 2 pencils also. Okay. Oh, where text is translated. So, on this cognitive surplus, definitely had some feathering with the wetter pen and some bleeding. But if you're using an ordinary pen, it's doing just fine. And I've noticed that same thing. I use a cognitive surplus for my pens in use. And a lot of my pages are kind of curled when I do the swatching. This one's a little bit better quality paper because, we're laying down gobs and gobs of ink, but it's not feathering through. So like I said, the quality kind of varies in the paper. Okay, and I see you were talking about the Remarkable. And sometimes they advertise fountain pen friendly, but they don't always pan out that way. Very true. I thought, if you can do your normal writing, I think that's good enough. I wonder if that could work with the modern e-tip that Kaweco has. So, by a weird coincidence, I have another device I have not reviewed, but I mostly use it as a Kindle and like an on-the-go, look stuff up type of device. I'll probably review it eventually, but that had an awful stylus, so I bought one. So this is the Lamy stylus. Now, I'll just tell you, I held it wrong. I'll tell you right away, it doesn't feel as good. It doesn't feel like a pencil. It's more like a stylus on a screen. This Remarkable stylus has a much better feel. Just a little more friction like a pencil. But on the other hand, if you have the right software, this has a button on it. Now, it does absolutely nothing on the Remarkable, but some tablets you can actually train. So to erase all the scribbles, I got to go to eraser mode by hand. But as you can see, it does work. There are several aftermarket styluses you can use. So I'll just show you here. Well, this pen must have some steel in it because it tried to attract to the magnetic side of the tablet. But not perfect, but it does actually do a really good job converting my awful writing to typed text. Not always. Like, I'm going to guess there's no Florida school district called at Mail Bounty. So I'm not sure what that means. I remember writing it though, so I think that's Duval County. So it definitely not called at Mail Bounty, but because I remember writing about the Hank Aaron and Roberto Clemente, who's Puerto Rican. Oh, and I can type on screen, which is awful. And soon, once they get their manufacturing deals worked out, there'll be a keyboard available. So anyway, that's a long answer to 2 questions, because Archivist also asked if there's more aesthetic styli, and yes, there are. And ODE, when my handwriting is for others, I do try to do better. Sometimes I get, well, yeah, obviously it doesn't like how I'm writing Duval County, because there's Duval Biddy. I'm pretty sure I abbreviated county. When I'm writing for another audience, it's important to communicate. So I feel like I need to make sure my handwriting is decent. So yeah, I have my teacher handwriting. So when I correct stuff, I want to write cursive, but things being as they are, I do have to write. I have to print. I will usually correct with the pen that has black ink in it. So let's do this. Let's get a little closer. So if I was correcting, let's say we'll do the student work in some other color here. I'll make up some student work. Yes, I know that's wrong. I'm going to correct it because I'm a teacher. So I might write something like that. Oh, Sajad Hussein points out that the T-Flex is actually a really nice nib, and it is. I don't know why it didn't work out in the stipulate pen. I was even given, I'm not sure the origins of it, I was even given a second stipula nib. Also doesn't work in that pen, and works in other pens. So yeah, that's totally a mystery to me. But that would be my writing as a teacher. I print. Kids can't read cursive. Now, if I'm on the channel, of course, I try to write more carefully. And okay, so dirty little secret, I'm always turned this way when I'm writing on the channel. So now I've turned the camera to show it. And I've kind of created my own style of cursive. If you look back in the past, I didn't always write like that. JS says no red for markup. No, I really only take one pen to school anymore. Back when I did take more pens to school, I would correct with whatever was handy. I had to be friendly on the paper that students have available to them, but I would be happy with whatever. I'm not one who would avoid red, but I also know that there is some psychology that maybe you don't want to correct in red because that brings up issues that don't need to be brought up. And Manny Lamont, you are right. That can be a can of worms. I have watched it descend into bitter arguments on Fountain Pen Geeks. So ODE, you have to correct with print. Yes, some of my students read cursive, but I have enough that can't. That just puts a barrier in their way. So I insist that I have to be able to read their writing. I think it's reasonable that they have to be able to read mine too. So if printing helps me communicate better, I will print. Now, I would like cursive to be more of a thing here in U.S. education, but let's be honest, it's not right now. Okay, let's look at something else. This, by the way, this is the Kokuyo paper. I really like it. And it makes a good substitute when I run out of my Tomoe River paper. You get a little bit of ghosting. Hardly ever any bleed through on this. It's not as good as Tomoe River paper, but it is good stuff. So ODE, that's a good question too. So here's the reality. Every state has its own education system. And I'll be honest, some states have a better education system than others. Some of the states are abysmal. Some states teach cursive, some don't. Some states leave it up to the individual school. In practice, what's happened is a lot of kids are forced into cursive, and then as soon as they don't have to do cursive anymore, they go back to printing. And with computers and so on more ubiquitous in schools, we're seeing less and less of kids actually handwriting stuff. I've actually gone backwards on that. I have gotten away from a lot of using the computer just because I saw things in my classroom I didn't like when we were using computers. So yeah, it's a tool that's available at the right time. Like I'd rather use a computerized sensor to take data readings than I would use we're going to take the temperatures by hand with our thermometers and write them down every 30 seconds. I'd rather use some sensors and things. And analyzing data, I'd rather use a spreadsheet. But there is a big time or a big point to handwriting. So we'll do this really bleedy flexi pen. Give everyone a chance for it to dry. And by the way, cursive is taught in my school. I found that the students from the rural campus, because we have a small rural campus for elementary K through 6, and then well, we call it the city school, but let's be honest, the whole district is rural. The kids from the rural one are more likely to use the cursive. So Matt W. uses print when he communicates. Yeah, it's just easier to communicate that way. And yeah, there have been cases of people dying because pharmacists misread or other professionals misread a doctor's handwriting. And JS, not really any more cursive in schools. And yeah, I think it's a good skill, but typing is a really important skill now also. So as you can see, it didn't, oops, wrong writing sample. It didn't really feather at all. I mean, it's not done drying, but it's not going to feather. And I also know for a fact, yeah, we got some ghosting, sorry, but no bleed through. So Kokuyo is really good paper. Yes, that's very common. Use green or purple, anything but red. Yeah, and a lot of things are on computer now, which honestly is good. I think the communication, especially in an industry like healthcare, it's so important to communicate very, very, very clearly. What else we got here? Yeah, I used to insist on red. I used to be one of those, well, they're just softies if they don't want red. But I got loosened up a little. I started to discover the world of color. Okay, that's interesting. Handwritten notes scanned into the computer. I guess it can be communicated that way. Yeah, printing is tiring. I would rather write cursive, but you have to be able to communicate. And used to reading doctor's orders when I was in the Navy. Oh, yeah. You absolutely have to be certain. Okay, yeah. When you're handwritten, sometimes it's questionable. Yeah, and that's true. I think that's a worldwide phenomenon where cursive is just becoming less of a thing. I still think it's good to handwrite and be able to read something that's handwritten, but it's a skill a lot of them don't have. I used to say, well, ACT, you have to handwrite an essay at the end. Well, now the ACT is moving more toward that being online. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, I administered the online ACT and they typed the whole essay. Well, they had to write down their outline and plan it first, those who did, but yeah. And yeah, the handwriting is important. There is something about the mind when you handwrite. So this Kukuyu notebook. So this is some outline for a book I'm looking at writing. I've got some fun paper that I've been working. I was trying out some outline stuff. So it's a book that's kind of in hiatus right now because I'm just kind of disappointed with it. But anyway, you've got 30 rings. This one is very stuffed, so I don't want to open it because then it'll be hard to put stuff back. But you just, oh, come on. Okay, got to flip this upside down because you can't, the camera doesn't have enough reach. So there's a little slider you pull out, all the rings pop open. I like the fact that this puts less stress on 3 individual places in the paper, like a 3-ring binder does. And no, normally my writing isn't this nice. This was kind of for show. But I did a lot of outlining with this paper that just kind of opens. And then, they have dividers they sell. Let's see what we got. Yeah, I tried to do a people and places. The nice thing with a binder is you can snork stuff in there when you say, oh, wait, we need another character. And like I said, some loose paper that just needs to find a home. Places. What else do we have in here? Hopefully nothing embarrassing. Really bad map. Without any distance to it, I just kind of sketched it. Not even much understanding of geography other than I kind of had the idea that it's much drier on the other side of these mountains. And again, more attempt to, and some research type stuff. So anyway, these notebooks are really nice because they are flexible. And when you do stuff in a notebook, you end up, you can't move pages around, basically. Okay, Pamela Boxall says, I should clarify. Oh, yeah. And, there is something to be said about handwriting. If I'm visiting a patient, which I'll never do because I'm not a doctor, I can see where I would write down notes. I will go to Saturday here because I'm not going to show you any student notes on my remarkable tablet. I'm sorry. We'll do this off screen in case it opens to a page with student notes on it. And it did. I had a little adventure with a kid that mouthed off yesterday, and I had to write some notes about it. So here we are on Saturday. I have Sunday totally blank. Oops. Okay, wait, I'm clueless here. Hopeless with technology. So Sunday is pretty free. So this has basically this is where I do my planner. Over here is my to-do list. Down here, if I just want to write a quick note. Over here, I've got if I'm planning out, like on Saturday, I have from 8 to 9 live stream, except it's cursive because we're not writing for students, we're writing for YouTube people. And I actually have on there probably till about 1:30. I'm going to be going over to Montana for something. But anyway, there's also on this 2 buttons. There's one for daily notes, daily diary. I don't use the diary. It has things like goals, things I'm grateful for, best thing that happened today, a daily log. I've just never found a use for that. But I have found a use for this page, the daily notes. So I can just say, and I can just write that down as I'm walking around. That's so much more handy than, you just wait, kids. I got to run over to the computer. I got to type this little thing up. You can just be quietly handwriting. And it's just like being on a clipboard. So yeah, I can see where patient notes would be good that way. Yeah, lots of things that are important that schools simply don't have the time or resources for. Learning languages, shop class, cooking. My school is fortunate. We do have a very good VOAG teacher. We have a very good FACS teacher. So we have the cooking classes, the shop classes, horticulture, meats, all those kind of classes. We've not been able to find a foreign language teacher, and probably couldn't pay one to teach full-time anyway. But we do have interactive television where they're able to get classes in foreign language. So we've had German and Spanish offered at this school. But yeah, if the VOAG teacher, the fax teacher decides to leave, can we find another one? Right now, there's a huge, huge, huge shortage of VOAG teachers. I know a VOAG teacher who's been called with 3 different job offers, just trying to poach him away from the school that he's in. So, yeah. So old labels at work. Yeah, I do want to do a video on making iron gall ink. I actually bought some galls so I could do that. It's just time. Probably this, one of those summer things. Let me pull out a different notebook here. So a lot of my book typewriting, let's raise this up. I do in these Kokuyo campus notebooks. They just have, really nice paper. You can write on both sides. They're a comfortable size for carrying around. I've started to wonder if maybe I should write with that Remarkable tablet, but I don't know. There's something about the act of handwriting I just love. Yeah, I guess I don't know if they have iron gall ink. I tried a few Ferris wheel press inks, and I was disappointed they were just so faint. I guess some of the... Oh, okay, that was almost bad. Off screen here, I nearly had a collapse of all my visual aids I pulled out for this video. All right, and this notebook... So I'll tell you what this notebook is. This has become more my experimental stuff that I pray to God nobody ever reads. So if I die and you see this notebook, just burn it. Don't ever look inside of it because I'd be really embarrassed. Like I had an idea one day for a story about a 14-year-old kid who's kind of on the streets and starts to discover he has magical powers. So I wrote a little story about him, and then I quickly realized I hate urban fantasy. What's his name? There's a famous urban fantasy series right now. Starts with a D, Dresden, something like that. Anyway, I'm just like writing this, and I'm thinking, there's computers and stuff. What is the point of magic? And so then I thought about moving him into the past, and maybe his parents died of Black Death or something, but then I lost interest. But, that's the kind of stuff that's in here. Will Hodge. Yes, they do. I have Salix, and I have the purple one. I haven't left. I'm just trying to get it out. Yeah. Oops, you can't read that. That's like how it is for me looking at things close up when I don't have those goggles on. But anyway, Isingales Tinte Scabiosa. Platinum has a whole line of iron gall inks. KWZ made a whole line of iron gall inks as well. Harlan Ellison. Dresden was not Harlan Ellison. I don't remember who it was, but he wrote a whole series of books. There was an attempt at a TV show. I guess it didn't have good ratings because it didn't last super long. Anyway, so this is a page in my experimental notebook that I don't need to hide. Okay, that's interesting that the non-US versions would have a different recipe. Okay, and you're also saying that, yeah, Do I have Pelican Blue Black? I don't feel like I do. I don't think I do. I think I have the blue and I have the black, and that's it. What's up here? Nope. Nope, none of them are. I have blue blacks, just not Pelican Blue Black. And yeah, KWZ, I've got... I need to ink up a pen with this again. The violet. I love this one because it goes on very bright and then turns a much darker color. Okay, so I may have a 30 ml bottle around here that I'm just not seeing. Yeah, I can't find it right now, but I'll look for it. I'll bet I do have it around, because now that you say that, I do remember something like that. Oh, welcome, Chris Sains. Glad to have you. I saw you on Hemingway Jones's channel. I want to try and get on there. We seem to be missing each other so far, but yeah, it was interesting to hear you talk, and and I always enjoy your cats. They make me laugh. Oh, a lot of people know Chris, of course. So anyway, whoops. This notebook is, like I was saying, this is more for experimental writing, but as you can see, no feathering, even though this is a cheap CVS notebook that the Moto Lisa gave me, and no bleed through either. So yeah, so this Caliber notebook, 5-subject notebook from CVS, made in Vietnam, is really good paper. So I use them. I think my closest CVS is probably in Bismarck. That's about 180 miles away. I'm not sure what that is in kilometers. But anyway, it's a long ways away. So who knows when I'll get to a CVS. If anybody saw my pens in use last night, I wanted to get to Bismarck to get some B-roll footage for my April Fool's video, and it has not happened. So that whole idea for a April Fool's video may have to wait until next year, which is a little depressing. So while I've got this page open, rather than just waste it, I'll just mention some of the things I do for writing. One of them is pen pal letters, although I'm way behind on them right now. January and February were awful for me this year, but letter writing is a big one. I like to write books. Not that they're any good, but I like to write them. I like to research. That book banning video has quite the bibliography right now. I do like, well, I don't know if I want to call it journaling exactly, but I like to put my thoughts down. Experimental writing. Like I said, that story about the wizard that I abandoned. I'm probably never going to write a fantasy of any kind, but the character could pop up in another form. And I seem to be more comfortable in science fiction set in rural, small places. Weird how that works. So yeah, I do a lot of, this is mostly science fiction. If you're allowed to have science fiction in rural, small places. But I think if Clifford Simak could do it, I can do it too. Sajjad Hussein has a good question. And I've got an instant answer. This size. So this is a B, I want to say B5 size. Is it written on here? Pretty sure it's B5. There it is in millimeters. But yeah, this is the size I like. It's just perfect. Not too small, not too big, just perfect. What do I prefer inside? I used to say blank, which is hard to find. But now I've kind of gotten to the point I like a dot grid. It's just very faint in the background. So once you've written on the page, it disappears, whereas this really doesn't. Do I have a dot grid notebook here? Can't remember what this one is. Nope. Oh, yes, do. So pens in use has been written in a dot grid. Under this lighting, you cannot make it out. And once you've written on the page, unless you study the page, you do not notice it. So dot grid is perfect. It just kind of disappears. For notepads, be honest, this remarkable tablet has taken over my notepad functions. And this is a perfect size for me. You know, it's a little wider than the B5. The B5 is a little taller. But the writing paper is actually a little smaller than a B5. So yeah, that's been a perfect size for me. I have quite a stack of Rhodia dot pads. I used to use them a lot when I take classes, but I don't anymore. And I used to really like that yellow. There was a certain type of yellow tablet paper that worked really well with my fountain pens I liked. But yeah, dot grid is my ideal, I think, especially for science. You do some diagrams and things. That's just wonderful. Oh, yeah, I've never read a Warhammer Horus Heresy book. I just finished reading The Wheel of Time. I'm reading a little nonfiction right now, but I want to get back into fiction, find something else. You know, I've had a couple of Ursula Le Guin, hope that's how it's pronounced, Le Guin novels recommended to me. So yeah, I'm open. I might as well look at my face because I seem to be done writing. Hey, it's my face only upside down. Come on. There we go. We'll turn off this light. And maybe get back just a little so you're not studying the hairs growing out of my nose. So you have a zit appearing there? Don't know. But yeah, that might be interesting. Like I said, I want to try something new. Star Wars books that aren't canon anymore. Yeah, where did I run across it? I recently ran across a video about some books that I remember as a kid, Cobra, and there were 2 sequels by Timothy Zahn. Timothy Zahn went on to create a bunch of Star Wars novels that included a very well-known character named Admiral Thrawn. And I thought he did quite well with those. But yeah, you're right, they're not canon anymore. Pedicon, you know, I guess the only one I've spent much time with, well, I've spent time with a few, I guess. They've been okay. I mostly use them in my finer nib pens, so I guess I just don't notice that they're dry. Because I have some violet, I've got dark green, I have the royal blue, and I have the black. And apparently I have a bottle of the blue black. I just don't remember what I did with it, but I do know that I wrote with it, and I know it appeared in a Pens in Use. Yeah, that's interesting too, that dry, you know, a lot of pen makers will say use only our inks, and I guess if you make your own ink in your own pen, you'd want to engineer an ink that'll work with your pens. So maybe you get the best performance out of Parker Quink washable blue in a Parker pen. Ooh, yeah, see, now there's something. I've never tried writing a play. I use a program. Well, I used to use it. That's another whole bone of contention. This program called Lyx, Lyx, which is kind of a LaTeX editor that's friendlier than using straight LaTeX, which those of you who do math know what that is. But anyway, Apple has switched over to this M1 chip. And right now, I can't get Lyx to run on the M1 chip. So I can only yet run Linux on a school computer, which is Windows, and I'm not going to do that for personal stuff. So, I feel kind of handicapped not having Linux available. On the other hand, I've gotten more comfortable doing straight LaTeX on my personal machine. And I've gotten more comfortable doing, there's another program I use called Typora, which is kind of a markup editor. I kind of like that. Let's see. Yes, the Pelican pens I've used are very generous. And yeah, you're saying the same thing. I read pretty fast. Yeah, I do. I don't know. It's always just been a thing. You never know when you'll have time to read, so I go through it. I'm one of those readers that if you ask me details like what shirt was Egwene wearing when she died, I don't know. But I know she died. Sorry, that was a spoiler for Wheel of Time fans. I can tell you who Egwene is. I can tell you the things she did, but details would always get me. And I had some English teachers in high school that would always test you on the details, and it's just tough for me because those are the things I don't remember. Hey, an ink guy. We got somebody from Florida here. Welcome. I bet I have more snow outside my windows than you do. Oh, my windows look tipped. I promise my house is not catterwampus. There. I'm still working on my morning coffee because I allow myself 1 cup of coffee a day, and so I had to make this big 20-ounce cup. I used to drink a lot more coffee, and then a couple of years ago, I started noticing that during fourth hour, I'm just like, so I was like, okay, probably too much caffeine. You're getting older. You might as well admit it. Ursula Gain visited. Okay, yeah, she is interesting. I don't want to talk too much about her now because there's a lot I don't know, but what I've read is interesting. So yeah, I want to start reading some of her books. I've been recommended Parable of the Sower. And I don't remember what it was called, but I idly mentioned that wizard thing to somebody, and they recommended, she has 3 books about a magic system. So maybe I'll try her out. Yeah, the script would be interesting. It's different. You're relying more on dialogue and then stage directions. And then somebody else has to bring your vision to life. But, on the other hand, you read a novel, you're bringing somebody else's vision to life. I don't have a novel here to hold up as an example. Okay. The teenage wizard story in here. The picture in my head is probably not the picture you would have if you ever got the chance to read it. But hopefully the bigger ideas would come across, and that's the main thing. And some people say, oh, I like Toronto theater better than New York City theater, or, oh, Milwaukee theater is the best. The different performances bring out different things. Different directors see different things. And, that's part of what makes stage production so interesting. I don't have any involvement with drama at all, but our school participates in a 1-act play competition, and sometimes they get to see the play that they did performed by another school and see how very differently another school may do it. Yeah, so new Star Wars stuff, people aren't going to be, well, actually, I don't think this is controversial anymore. I got talked into Disney Plus. Everybody's, you will love The Mandalorian. I don't. I tried watching, I don't remember which one it was. I didn't even finish it. It was a young woman looking for Luke Skywalker, and some bad guy wears a helmet sometimes and sometimes he doesn't. And oh my God, it was awful. I just couldn't even finish it. And she's so good at everything, even though she's just starting out as a Jedi. And so what does Luke even have to teach you? And from what I hear, I'm glad I didn't make it to the end because it just would have been disappointing. So, yeah. Okay, 4001 inks are drier than the Edelstein. That wouldn't surprise me. So I do have 2 bottles of Edelstein. This Kaveco Dia right now has Edelstein smoky quartz in it. I have Onyx back here. Something green that I can't make out the name. And we've got a few more comments about the nibs. Oh, yeah, that's something I've discovered in my vintage pen explorations is it can be really hard to get an ink out of a pen, especially you're just not going to soak it long enough unless you do something hardcore like taking it apart and getting in there with a ultrasonic cleaner and all that. But maybe a sacrificial fill of ink. And yeah, that actually seems to work very well. And that's the thing. We all have different interests. I realized writing this wizard thing that I'm not I had to have a system. What can this wizard kid do? What can't he do? And how did we keep him from becoming a monster when he realizes he can do things? Because I had him using his powers to steal food and clothes and stuff. How do we keep him from becoming a monster? Who can really control somebody like that? Those kind of things. So a good magic system has to have rules. Like Wheel of Time or Lord of the Rings have very clear rules about how the magic works. Some fiction seems to be, whatever the story needs, that's what the magic can do. And that's how science fiction is too. The really hard science fiction will really follow the rigid rules of physics and chemistry and biology. Stuff like Star Trek gets more imaginative. In fact, Star Trek, a lot of that arguably could be called fantasy rather than science fiction. It's just in a technological rather than a magical setting. But, I am working on a history. You've seen the building. There's a church I've been trying to write the history of. That ended for the winter, but I'm hoping to pick it up and finish it next summer. Things that you're interested in, I think, are big. Like I was watching a video last night when I should have been writing my book banning script, but it was so interesting because it was about how to save your small town. And one of the things was about tell the story, bring the story to the front, make it part of everything you do. So I don't think that's a cure-all, but it's something to try. Okay, Sajad Hussein also likes B5. Yeah, and we also both prefer notebooks. And yes, the campus notebooks are very well made. Yeah, and that's my idea on writing is I write for me. I don't know that anything I write will ever see the light of day. I don't know if I'm not going to play this false modesty game, but I don't know if anything I write is good enough, but it's fun. And I guess I could be sitting there watching TV instead of writing and creating. So I'd rather create. The reading history of the protagonist. I can't think of anything intelligent to say to that. I'm sorry. Yes, that was it. Wizard of Earthsea. I was actually watching, what's his name? Dominic Cooper was comparing that to something. Oh, I know. Dominic Cooper compares TV adaptations to books. And I've done a little bit of that in my book reviews, but I'm not as polished as he is. And I don't do scenes from the movies or TV shows or anything. I just talk about them. But he was comparing Wizard of Earthsea apparently was made into a TV series. And, one of the big changes is they changed the wizard from being black to being white, which Ursula Le Guin was very specific about that. And she was not happy. Yeah, and that's the big thing. To do it, whether it's good or not, whether anybody ever sees it or not, if it's rejected everywhere. In fact, fun fact, One of the fiction books I've been kind of working through is written by one of my former students. So since it's published on Amazon, I don't mind sharing it. So I'm that far into it. If she ever sees this, good for her for having a dream and following through. If I ever review it, I'll point out that it's self-published, so there's some quality issues in the way the book's put together. But anyway, yeah, just to do it. Okay, Butler. I know the name. No book is springing to mind, but I do know that name. How's my novel coming along? I am setting that one aside for now. I have sort of a different idea that I'm going to play with. I think that other idea just needs to percolate. I've got an idea. I don't want to give away too many details, but I have an idea about an alien intelligence that forms in a very different way, let's say, and it's going to be half horror because part of how they form is by taking over the body, but then they have access to the mind, and the alien intelligence actually became an intelligence by growing into people that colonized their planet, and when they grew into the brains, they became self-aware. So that's what I don't want to give away too many details in case I ever do something with it, but that's what I'm working on. So think cordyceps fungus, only different. And yes, I know there's a TV series right now about cordyceps fungus. So I had this idea years ago, and I got it walking into the old high school in Egeland, North Dakota, which I'm sure you've all been there. Egeland is this tiny town. The old high school is a wooden building. It's 2 stories plus a basement and literally made out of wood. So, before fire safety standards. I walked into the science room, and, the whole thing has become a museum for the city of Egeland. And kind of an extension, it's also a museum for the county, which I don't remember what county that's in. But anyway, when I drove away, this idea came to me about a science teacher and, dealing with the fact that one of his former students has committed an atrocity where he's destroyed a whole planet. And, why did he do that? And investigating it all. In the years since then, because I tried writing it, but years since then I've realized, yeah, the science teacher won't have the kind of access he needs, and it's probably not a very interesting character to see it through. So I think it'll be more finding the right character. People that like writing, I haven't listened to too many podcasts, but maybe I'll have to listen to that one. Okay, not very good. Hello, Alfredo Gallardo. Good to have you. I haven't made it all the way to Mexico. I got real close, but no passport, so I got to see Mexico from a few feet away. I want to. One of my colleagues is going to be taking a trip, of course, to a tourist spot, but Puerto Vallarta. And I just was curious. I looked at the pictures, and that's a pretty town, but obviously for tourists. I kind of want to visit the part where the jungle is, would be the southeast part, if I remember right. Anyway, curious to visit there. My neighbor, and I haven't been there yet. Okay, yeah. I do drink tea also. I just drink my 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and that's it. I drink a lot of water. I've got a large water bottle. I try to drink 2 full fills of that during the day at teaching, and that's not hard because you're using your voice all day and got to drink to keep that going. Yeah, and a lot of people just drink tea. I'm a horse apiece. I'll drink herbal tea or regular tea. In the summer, sometimes some iced tea is good. Oh yeah, I do a lot of most of my tea is loose leaf. I have green tea. Maybe I'll have that when I go over to Montana. Since I'm not taking a cup of coffee, maybe I'll take a cup of green tea. Octavia Butler. Okay. Yes, I do know that name. Can't remember if I've read any of her books, but I do know that name. Yeah, in the U.S., coffee is king. Well, good morning, Ichiro Fakaname. Good to have you. I know you'll be jealous because you mentioned having lived through snow for every 20 years or so. So my snow is melting. Uh, I have heard of Hal Clement. I don't think I've read any of his books, but I have heard of him. In fact, I'm going to write those two names down because I'll remember Ursula Le Guin, but Octavia Butler. So I'm writing. That's why you're getting a close up of my forehead. And Hal Clement. Yeah, so I'll be curious to read those two books or two authors. Like I said, I want to read some other stuff now, but right now I'm doing some kind of a combination of nonfiction and fiction. Um, the world famous Pierre Gustafson loaned me a book that's about handwriting. It opens, this guy's talking about how he realized he has no idea what his best friend's handwriting even looks like. And I'm trying to read my students' novel here, former students. So, and I have a whole shelf of books waiting to be read. As somebody noted, I do have a lot of books on my shelves that I haven't read yet. I go in streaks. You see something, oh, I want to read that. And, honestly, we have a local library, but will I find what I'm looking for when I go to it? It's kind of a crapshoot. There's interlibrary loan and things, so may have to do that. There's a series of books. I don't remember the author's name right now, but it takes place on an Indian reservation in New Mexico. He's a detective for the tribal police, and it's a series of murder mysteries. I don't know the reservation world in New Mexico, but I have worked on one of the reservations here in North Dakota for several years, and so I thought it would be something interesting to read. So, and our local library doesn't have it, of course, so I'll have to look for it, maybe through interlibrary loan. Oh, it looks like the comments are starting to dry up, and like I said, I've got a thing over in Montana I have to do later today, and then I have to be back here tonight because we've got prom tonight. And I'm not chaperoning or having anything to do with it, but I am yearbook advisor, and most of my workers are going to be, going to prom. So I'm going to go over and take some pictures. And I just do the socializing beforehand and the grand march, and then I come back home and go to bed because this guy doesn't do late night. So if communicating with a certain part of the world, wherever that is, requires me to be up late at night, probably not going to happen because I'm going to need a lot of this. And I'm just not myself when I'm up late. So anyway, yeah, it's in March. They usually do it late March, early April at this school. A few schools have already had prom. Other schools, I know one of the girls I was counting on for Science Olympiad when we go to state that same weekend, April 22nd, her boyfriend is having prom at wherever it is he goes to school. So she can't go to state Science Olympiad because of the darn prom. So I think they try to spread it out just to have, so if they have a boyfriend or girlfriend from a different school, they can go. I won't wear a tux. Last time I wore a tux, and the only time I wore a tux was when I was the best man in a wedding. Other than that, no. Okay, Tony Hellerman. Yes, and I did see Dark Winds, so I definitely want to read that. Uh, yeah, we're all different. I used to be better at late night, and then it's like a switch flipped in my brain, and I not anymore. I do my best work in the morning. So it'll be interesting to contrast this live stream with my one for American viewers, where it's later in the afternoon. I won't be drinking this. Um, if I drink this in the evening, I will be a night owl. I used to be able to drink that, and didn't matter. Yes, I have been surprised when ODE has joined my live streams. I'm just thinking, wait, it's late here. But now we all function differently. One of my students said, why were you on YouTube at 3 a.m.? Well, I wasn't on YouTube at 3 a.m. I timed the video to be released at 3 a.m. I was fast asleep at 3 a.m. Okay. Um, I, okay. Yeah, and my next one will be later. I don't know. I'll probably do like 7 o'clock or something, just to see how it goes. It'll be a Saturday in April. We have Easter break coming. Maybe I'll do it over that. I'm considering a small trip. Well, hey, the trip I wanted to make to Bismarck, and another little side trip to Minot. But anyway, long story. Nobody cares. Sounds like I have a lot of night owls here. I used to be. Now, if I try to night owl, like, oh, I want to finish this movie, or oh, just a little bit more of this book, I find myself waking up way later at night in a puddle of my own drool. So I gave up trying to do the late night thing. So anyway, I want to thank you all for joining in. I think we reached a peak of 33 people, which was pretty exciting. Oh, here's a morning person. We're kind of running down now. So let me know if I should keep doing these live streams once a month, these meetings of the Badlands Pen Club. North Dakota, we can't really get together because us pen people are way too spread apart. So anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Now, where's the off button? Oh, 4 p.m. in Italy. I may have timed it a little too early then. So good to have you all, and thank you. Oh, there's the button. Found the off button. All right, so now I'm going off for real. Thank you. It still asks me if I'm sure.